All right, let's talk about Lionel Messi a little bit more because of this feud now with Mexican fans saying they put themselves in a position of having a rivalry with us. That doesn't really exist. There's no comparison between Argentina and Mexico, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know what happened to the Mexicans with the rivalry, that anger started. I always felt very loved by the people of Mexico. I never disrespected anyone. Some shots fired here from Lionel Messi. Shaq, you're chuckling. Thoughts?
I don't understand the rivalry either, or supposed rivalry. I guess I'll just put that out there. I can't speak to it or why it exists.
Yeah, it's not a rivalry. That's
right. That's why.
But it's not, because on the field, Mexico, the last time and they won was in the early 2000s. You know, it has not been a rivalry. Certainly when Messi has played against the Mexican, team, it's not been a rivalry. I'll leave it with this. I think this is beyond the rectangular grass field. I think this goes to other elements that Messi's been involved in, indirectly or directly, where there's been an Argentina representation versus Mexico representation. Let's go back to the 2022 World Cup. Shaq, you and I were there. Do you remember Andres Guardado giving his jersey to Messi? And that jersey ended up on the ground, as it does in many different locker rooms. And there's video footage or a picture of Messi stepping on the jersey. Nobody takes offense to that. But championship boxer, the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez, takes offense to it and goes to Twitter and calls out Messi, threatening Messi. That's one. Kun Agüero comes in, and Kun Agüero says, "What's this guy talking about?" And there's trash talking there. It gets squandered. Nothing happens. Let's fast forward. CONCACAF Champions Cup. Inter Miami versus a limited Messi and friends. Messi coming off an injury. They go to Monterrey, and they are dancing on this man's jersey. They are burning his jersey. And then they humiliate Inter Miami, and they're out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. This one right here, it's a friendly. Club America versus Inter Miami in Las Vegas. And they're screaming homophobic chants at Messi, and Messi has to remind the Club America fans, hey, Argentina 3 World Cups, you, Mexico 0. And I'm going to leave it here. This wasn't a direct question to Messi about the rivalry. Messi himself took it there.
Took it there, yeah.
Messi himself took it there. So Messi wants it to be known, you're not like us.
Okay, Kendrick Lamar.
That's what Messi wants it to be known. You're not like us. And he's right in this context, he's absolutely right. But this rivalry, this banter is more off the field than it is on, clearly.
I think it goes back to a very prideful Mexican fans that really just want to defend their national team and their country in any sense of the word, because it reminded me, and this is probably not the most random example, but in the Tokyo Olympics, we saw that whole situation with the women's softball team, right? And their jerseys ended up in a trash bag, and they don't deserve the opportunity. And these women were so heavily criticized for what, at the end of the day, seemed to be like a misunderstanding. So it just seems like there's just this explosiveness, which I don't think is bad necessarily, but sometimes maybe we have to take it back a notch or two. At the end of the day, Shaka, just trying to give you a little bit of context here. Because with Messi, it's like, y Messi qué? Y Messi qué?
It's more pride, because it's been more of a rivalry off the field than it is on. Because if you go to the Argentina versus Mexico game,
in the World Cup, Maxi Rodriguez.
No, I'm talking about Qatar.
To me, it's
go to
straight
Qatar,
to the heart.
That was as close to an away game as it got for Argentina.
Yeah.
And Mexican fans, they come in numbers, and they are a team that maybe we won't beat you on the field, but off the field in numbers, we can beat you with the attendance. That was as close to an away game for Argentina as it got.
Again, I'm looking from the outside here, but it feels rather one-sided.
Yeah.
But you're like a therapist in this situation because you're a third-party observer.
I'm not sure I'm the therapist for this situation. It just feels a little one-sided.
Yeah.
And sometimes those rivalries can be manufactured from one side in an effort to motivate and in an effort to inspire. But again, I'm not sure what the significant overlap is between Mexico and Argentina. You aren't going to face each other that often unless an invitation is extended to CONCACAF nations, usually Mexico and the US, admittedly, to join in Copa America, or there's some collaboration between you, or the draw is kind in a World Cup in whatever way. But so you're stoking this rivalry in the hope that the draw is kind every 4 years. It just feels a little off to me.
Yeah, it does at the end. But like you said, I feel like Lionel Messi kind of took it there when maybe wasn't really necessary. But maybe he had a bone to pick with somebody, and he said, "This is my outlet."
I've got no issues with Messi. Being Messi.
Yeah, no, not at all. We do want to remind you what's coming up here on Tuesday. Football Club Barcelona facing Mallorca, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Coverage beginning at 3 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+.